Hi, I'm Jesse Mendelson, Director of the Center of Excellence at Model N. I'm very pleased to be joined by John Shakow, partner at King Spalding in Washington, D.C. You know, John, looking ahead beyond the AMP rule in the next 5 years, what types of things are you hearing? What types of rumors are happening that might be coming down from the Hill?
That's a tough question to answer because we really are in a bit of stasis here while we're waiting for the final rule. To predict what will come after that is very difficult. But I have heard movement on the Hill, on the Republican side, and in the president's budget most recently, that would indicate that they're willing to reopen the Social Security Act. They're willing to reopen Title 19 and the Medicaid drug rebate program statute. So while I know we're all getting comfortable with the 2010 rules, there may be some 2015 or 2016 statutory changes we'll all have to learn. This isn't limited to that either, of course. There will be effect in ASP. There will be effect in 340B. There will be effects on the VA side too. So I wouldn't be surprised to see an activist Congress held entirely by the Republicans horse trade with the administration to bring about changes that bring more money into the federal government, unfortunately on the backs of drug manufacturers.
Should be an interesting several years coming up.
Yes, a lot of people think not a lot could be done, but I think that if the House and Senate act as one, and they hope to get anything done before the new presidential election in 2 years, they're going to have to work with the president to make some things happen. So they're going to have to give him some of the things he wants. He's going to have to give them something that they want. We may get statutory change in a way that we haven't had since 2010.
As we're still waiting for the final rule, as you interact with your clients, what are the real contentious issues regarding AMP and best price that they're struggling with it right now that maybe they even included on their comments to the government?
Yeah, there's no doubt that manufacturers aren't sitting on their hands waiting for CMS to propose a rule. There are issues that are confronting my clients, your clients, all the time in this area, areas of gray in which they have to operate that could have very substantial effects on their Medicaid rebate liability, for instance, on their ASP calculations. I'll give you a couple of examples. First of all, it was made very clear in the proposed rule, for what that's worth, that the government feels very strongly that we take a very thoughtful look at our service fee arrangements and apply the bona fide service fee test, come up with approaches to including or excluding those fees from our calculations. I know of 2 subpoenas out of the Department of Justice on this very issue, so there is government interest in that. Another area that some of my clients are struggling with is the question of blending. Blending has never been a part of the Medicaid drug rebate program statute, nor any of its interpretive regulations or guidance. But the notion that you would have multiple NDC-9s of the same dosage form and strength of a product arguably give rise to the need to combine the pricing figures for those numbers. Combine the AMP calculations, combine the BP calculations, combine the baseline AMP, or at least go to the baseline AMP of the first launch product. Again, it's the Wild West because we've got no guidance on that, but I know anecdotally from communications with CMS that CMS is expecting blending. So there are always going to be occasions in this enormously dynamic and creative business that we live in, that we operate in and our clients operate in, for there to be subjects that have no regulatory antecedent to which to look. And so we're going to try to reduce risk, we're going to try to remain compliant, while all the while simply predicting what we think the government might want. And it's in those areas that most of my clients are spending their time as we wait for the final rule.
And I'm sure you give your clients the same advice I give my own, in the sense that in an environment where there's a lack of guidance, make your best possible reasonable assumption and document a good defense of it and be consistent in the way you apply it.
That is absolutely true. I might go one step further. When a manufacturer is going to undertake a position, I'm going to make an assumption that would generally flow to the detriment of the government, we very seriously consider seeking guidance directly from CMS. And whether that's by letter or by a meeting up in Rockville with the CMS operations folks. I advise my clients that simply making an assumption within one's company in the dark without trying to vet it through the government at all might not be the most conservative route. It might be slightly risky simply to do that. And I say that because it's not just the government that can bring enforcement actions, but key TAM relators. If a disgruntled employee decides that the way that you've been separately reporting for 2 NDC-9s of the same dosage form and strength, they may see dollar signs in their eyes and file a lawsuit against their employer to try to beat them in private litigation. So seeking independent guidance from CMS when you're operating in an area that is a high dollar impact area, I think is prudent. It's at least prudent to think about.